Welcome in. This is another edition of Corley Quarterly, where we talk about Belmont Athletics with Belmont Athletics Director Scott Corley, and it's brought to you by FirstBank. Scott, how you doing?
Doing okay. We're hanging in there. It's certainly been different.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Live from the home office. I assume you've probably done a number of these Zoom calls that I have. I've set up everything from karate lessons to radio shows and all sorts of stuff. What about you?
Same here. I'm getting much better at it. The technology is amazing. It is a great way to communicate with our coaches and with our staff. It's obviously we miss the day-to-day interaction, being in an office and all the energy that provides. But obviously, like the rest of us, you got to adjust on the fly, and certainly doing these is good. The best solution under the current conditions for sure.
Now you have a new college graduate in your family, correct? With Kennedy just in the last few days?
You're very kind to point that out. Very proud of Kennedy. We did the virtual graduation, and very proud of her to get her degree in social work, and she's going to work on her Master's of Education. So wants to become a teacher, and Belmont's been a great place for her to get the learning that she needs for that.
As far as what's going on campus, it's kind of hard to say, what the plan's going to be for, getting people back on campus and students and all that stuff down the road. But, what's going on, for you right now? What are your priorities?
Yeah, obviously, since we've gone remotely, tried to be very intentional on communicating with our coaches. Our coaches are doing a wonderful job, staying engaged with their student athletes, obviously helping them adjust to, all the online classes, et cetera, staying focused on the academics. The coaches have done a great job adjusting and have been very, very good about handling that. Working a lot with the staff, obviously, staff staying very busy, working through year-end stuff that, kind of reflecting on things we maybe could have done better this past year, whether it was basketball season, et cetera. I've been spending a lot of time thinking through scenarios, been spending a lot of time with the OVC office and ADs looking at cost-saving measures. Obviously had to spend some time with our budget, looking at making appropriate adjustments given the new reality that we're living in. So those types of things, none of it's fun.
Right.
But it's reality we're living in, and as a leader, you got to, make sure you're staying prepared for all different scenarios. So, a lot of good stuff, a lot of good work, but it's going to continue to be very fluid, as we all know, and we all just got to learn to manage through the ambiguity. And that's what I've been trying to tell our staff and coaches is just, we got to manage through the ambiguity.
There's no real handbook or anything to prepare you for this, is there? In your wildest set of scenarios when you took the job as athletic director, I can't imagine that this was something you ever even thought about, some sort of situation like this.
Yeah, I'm looking for that chapter on how to handle a pandemic.
Right. They left that one out.
Find it. I think you just got to, obviously rely on your staff, rely on senior leadership at Belmont. They're obviously going to make the decisions that's in the best interest for the students, and we want to make all the decisions that are in the best interest for our student athletes. But I think you still got to remain calm. You got to see how things play out. You can never over communicate, but at the same time, a lot of your answers you just got to realize when your coaches are asking, or we don't know, and so that can be frustrating for all of us. We all like to plan. We all like to have control over decisions and scenarios. So, yeah, it's certainly, I think all of us in the AD world are, trying to do the best we can with such a unique set of circumstances.
There have been some really significant issues, come up with the NCAA just over the last few weeks. The extra year for spring sport athletes. Kind of start there and give us your thoughts on that first of all.
Yeah, I think, the NCAA is trying to make decisions in the best interest of the student athletes. Again, it's all new for them at an NCAA level. The decision on the spring sports student athlete, I think, was trying to show some grace and understanding on how their seasons ended so, quickly and affording them the opportunity to come back if they can. I think it led to a lot of discussions at the individual school level, though. How do you absorb the cost and things like that? So, we obviously had those discussions. I'm pleased that of the 32 spring sports seniors, 14 are going to be able to come back. We were able to absorb them in the existing scholarship budgets. And so, and a lot of them, candidly, as time went on, I think they realized, they're ready to get on to the next stage of their life, things like that. And so I think at the end of the day, the NCAA did the right thing. And I think at the end of the day, every school is trying to do the right thing under their circumstances.
Yeah, that's a really complicated issue, with a lot of different parts going into it. More recently, just in the last few days, the name, image, likeness things that have come up with the NCAA, trying to figure out a plan to make that happen. It looks like it's gonna pass. It's just a matter of when it starts, what the so-called guardrails might be. How might that impact things on your campus with your student athletes?
It's hard to tell. I've tried to reserve judgment till we see what the guardrails really do look like. I mean, obviously, when California passed their law, and then you've got 33 other states trying to pass their own laws, it was inevitable that the NCAA needed to react and do something around this topic. And I think that working group, it's a very complex situation. It's certainly, there's a lot of pluses and there's a lot of concerns administratively from a compliance. How do you monitor this stuff? How do you keep it from getting into recruiting? Those are really difficult to put guardrails around. While at the same time, we've had student athletes in the past. I mean, very entrepreneurial driven. And so for them to be able to make some money, I've got no problem with on the surface. It's just all the specific details and and then what are probably a lot of the unforeseen consequences from it.
Yeah.
I think get us all naturally nervous, but it's coming, it's happening. I think the NCAA is trying to do the best they can to put the right guardrails in place, and time will tell, and we'll see what the ramifications are once it's all completed.
One more as far as NCAA issues, the transfer waiver issue. Where do you see that going?
They took a pause on that. There was a feeling that it was going to definitely pass, and I think people wanted to hit pause with all that's going on and really think through the ramifications of that. So I thought it was the right decision to wait. You got to think through a lot of things that people don't realize, like academic performance, the APR ratios. What does the impact have on that if you start opening up a lot of transfers? But I understand both sides of it. I mean, you've got every other sport but these five, if you transfer, you can be immediately eligible. So I think you've got to address some of those inconsistencies there. Obviously, coaches are not big fans of it because it does feel like we'll open it up to a free agency kind of model. And for us at Belmont, particularly men's basketball, that's concerning because we've got a lot of great student athletes that do well in the classroom, which is one of the things you need to have a good GPA to be able to transfer and be eligible. So we'll keep our eye on it. I think there's still a lot more to be debated on it.
Speaking about, putting the pause on some things, what about your facilities? I know they're working on a tennis facility. We got the announcement about the new basketball facility back during the wintertime. How does this affect those projects?
I'm pleased to report it hasn't had any impact. Blessed that Dr. Fisher and the board still see the value in moving forward on those projects and the fact that Belmont has the ability to do that. So, I've been having a lot of Zoom meetings on finalizing some design plans and things like that. So it's very exciting. The parking garage that the tennis courts are going to be on the top of, those keep coming along. And in fact, I think they're pouring, today on May 7th, they're going to start pouring, getting ready to pour the courts or put the foundation for the courts. So we're progressing, and that's just a wonderful thing for athletics. And we're very, very pleased that the senior leadership continues to support those projects.
I was going to ask, what do you miss the most? I think, I was thinking, I've almost like put together my list of things this spring that I missed. Number one, of course, is the NCAA tournament, which we would have been part of going with the men's team. But, baseball and golf tournaments and everything else, there are all sorts of things that I can come up with. What has it been for you, outside of maybe the big obvious one in the NCAA tournament?
Well, there's obviously a lot. I mean, the best part of my job is to watch our student athletes compete for championships. And I love being there physically for all the championships and just watching that. And, certainly miss the engagement that we have with our great student athletes, whether it's in the office as they come by or just, when I'm watching them compete. So that's clearly first and foremost what's most disappointing. Obviously basketball. I mean, it would have been so much fun to be in the tournament and to see what that team could have done because they were playing so well. I think our women on the basketball side could have made a nice run in the NIT. I do think we would have gotten an NIT bid, and I think we could have made a nice run in there, and that's always exciting when you get a couple wins in tournament play. Baseball, boy, they were poised for a magical season. There was something going on with that team from the chemistry and the ability to win late inning games. And so that's disappointing because that would have been really fun to watch. But all of them, I mean, so many of them were positioned. And you just feel bad for the student athletes. I mean, they worked so hard in the off season. A lot of them coming off injuries, working through that. And then to not even have the chance to compete for championships is tough. So that's first and foremost. But I said it earlier, I really do miss the interaction with the staff, with the coaches on a daily basis in the office, walking around, talking to them, getting updates. I mean, doing it remotely is fine, but it's not as efficient. To get things done, you've got to really plan and set up times and make multiple calls where, when you're all together, you can just, hey, let's go in the conference room, let's figure it out.
Or walk down the hall and talk to somebody.
Yeah. So it's, but we're all adjusting to it. And I do think I'm really proud of the staff and the coaches and our student athletes, how well they've adjusted.
And we've also seen some cool stuff as far as honors for the student athletes. I don't know, Seth Adelsberger on the men's side and certainly a couple of the women's players, really, really great stuff that they've achieved and getting that recognition from various places.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, our student athletes do amazing things on and off the court, and I'm pleased that they continue to be recognized for that on the national level. Ellie Harmeyer, I almost had to look up. I can't keep track of all the honors that she's won, from academic All-American to, finalist for the class award. Those are big, big deals. I mean, you're competing against all the student athletes across the country, and Ellie's so deserving. Seth Adelsberger. I mean, we've got so many of them like that are so deserving because they do embody and embrace what it means to be a student athlete, and they make the most of their time, talents, and all the things that God has given them. Our student athletes really tend to embrace that, and it's really wonderful to see when they get the recognition they deserve. Hey, one thing, if I could, before we close up, Kevin, is I just want to publicly say a special thanks to all our seniors that did graduate this year. One of the things I will miss this year is the highlight of our year is when we do the graduation brunch. And we get to acknowledge those seniors and thank them and give them their senior rings where the coaches speak about them. We obviously weren't able to do that this year, and I miss that for them and miss that for me. It's a special day. And so I just want to publicly thank all the seniors and let them know how much I appreciate everything they've done to make Belmont athletics better. You've left a legacy. You will not be forgotten, and I hope every one of them knows that they're always welcome back on campus. And just really want to congratulate them on graduating. Being a student athlete and graduating is not an easy thing, and balancing all those. And they've done it amazingly, and I just want to thank them publicly for all that they've done.
Yeah, and same goes for me. Congratulations to everyone who's graduated. And you hate the way it's all happened, where you miss those moments, but it doesn't take anything away from the accomplishments. So absolutely, congrats, Scott. Thank you so much for the time, and look forward to seeing you in person. Let's hope that the next one of these we do will be down in the Curb Center somewhere.
Amen. I couldn't agree more with that, Kevin. Thanks for doing it, and thank you, FirstBank, for continuing to sponsor this segment. Appreciate it.
All right. That is Corley Quarterly, and it's brought to you by FirstBank. We'll talk to you next time. Again, hopefully at the Curb Event Center. So long.